Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel.
Okay, time to assemble the transmission. And we are on to bag 6. And bag 6 is a big bag. Okay, I'm going to need these. We have several transmission options. Okay, I'm going to pause up for a second and just confirm my transmission type. Okay, here we have our two transmission cases, and we have lay down and lay back. And as you can see, I'm holding them with the drive sections right here, where the out drives are for the motor, right next to each other. And this is where our differentials go. Or I can do it the other way, like so. And you can see that in one, the motor is about, I would say 6 millimeters further forward, further to the front of the car. And a lot of people seem to be running the lay back versus the lay down. Now, as far as the height goes, if we place these, let me see. Okay. If I take the two side pieces and lay them down on this surface here, as if they are being mounted, the motors look to be about the same height. One is just further forward than the other. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm a trendsetter or something, but when I bought my my original short TLR 22 short course truck, it was the first of the TLR 22 generation short course trucks, and they came with a rear mounted motor or a mid mounted motor setup. You had two transmissions, one where the motor hung off the back, like going back in time to the original RC10 Gold Pan, that motor off the ass end of the car. I built mine from the get-go as mid-engine, and I mean all of the builds were rear engine. Everyone ran rear engine. And I think that's just because it was what people were used to. It's what they were used to driving. They were used to that style of driving. Me, personally, I love mid-engine vehicles. I used to autocross one of the first generation Toyota MR2s, you know, little cheese wedge car. And just FYI, that was like the world's greatest gear shifter ever in a car. It was about like 6 or 7 inches tall and cable done and just snap, 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 snap. I mean, I've never driven a car that the gear throw was so short, so crisp, so clean. I used to just love flinging that thing around parking lots. Actually set the fastest time of the day once in a downpour. I mean, a deluge downpour. Like, you know, the water just couldn't get out of the way fast enough. And the whole time I was just loose, sliding that little car all over the place. And I just loved that thing. Love mid-engine cars. There's just something about the way they drive. In any event, I did nicely with the mid-engine setup in the short course truck. And even with the mid-engine, that car with an 8-turn motor was just a wheelie machine. You couldn't keep the front end on the ground half the time. In the same way that I am adding this plate up front, the main track that I'm going to race at is clay, and it's very, very smooth. It's got some good jumps and stuff, but it's not rut city. They really keep it nicely groomed and maintained. And I'm really thinking about getting up north a bit. There's a handful of places that do indoor carpet racing. And again, you know, carpet, you're kind of thinking more road than off-road as far as the way your suspension dynamics are set up. I think I'm going to buck the trend. I'm going to go lay down transmission. I'm going to go for the longer transmission that puts the motor further to the middle of the car, kind of centralizing weight in the midsection and forward in the car. Keeping that front end down, making sure, because it's a two-wheel drive vehicle. We don't have front end power to, you know, torque steer the car around turns. That's my thinking, and so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set the layback transmission aside. I may try it down the road. I probably will, just to get a feel for things. I love experimenting. But I think I am going to go, I know I've made the decision. I am going to go lay down transmission to start with and see how that goes. This looks really neat. I've never built one of these up. It looks like it's just super easy to get to the diff on this, because you've got, on either one of them, you've got your two transmission halves, and these bolt together and form a unit. And then you've got a transmission cap of sorts that has the sway bar running through it and holds the shock tower, and it looks like there's going to be just a handful of bolts and that thing comes off, and you've got easy access to your diff and to these pieces, so you can adjust your axle height if that is needed. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. So I need to, I'm gonna bag that up. I'm gonna take one of the old bags, if this is big enough. If not, I'll just grab another one from the garbage. Yeah, it's not gonna fit in there. That'll work. Okay, so I am going to be running the low axle position, which is on our axle height. No, that's at the hub. Let's see, what are we doing here? Okay, diff height. Where is our diff height on here? Ah, there it is. Okay. The diff area, all that information is in this little box here. We've got our transmission type, lay down, lay back, differential, ball diff or gear diff, and differential height. And that you can also see here on this chart. And we want a diff height of 0, and that is the kit setup, and that is going to be, let's see, yep. So that's the two pieces that have a number 0 on them at one end, and the other end has a number 3. So if you flip it upside down, that's the highest. And then we have these two other pieces where we can have a like a medium low and a medium high. There is no center, but that's fine. That's just the heights that they have offered us. So let's see, 0 and 0. So these two pieces also get set aside. Those are going to go in a parts box. Those I'm going to want easy access to in case I need to make a change. Okay. So let me mark all this stuff up on my build sheet. Lay down transmission. Let's see, differential height is going to be 0. Okay. So, and we're going to need the big idler gear. And so that small idler gear gets set aside for the other transmission. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, where is our bracket? There it is. Now, when you're doing this build here, be very careful with these parts. I'm glad I wiped out this tray really good. These are our slippers, and I'm not touching them except at the edges. You don't want to get any grease on those slipper pads, because that will mess them up. So here are our bearings. And, okay, we need our little axle for our idler gear. We need our little, our lay down top shaft. And we need this guy here. And this is the top. I'm just seeing how that's going to mount in there. So that's going to go right in there. Okay, so let's start by getting the right bearings out here. And that, yep, let's do rubber side facing out. And I want to check that supplement as to the positioning of the diff. And they're not showing it in this image, so I'm going to go print the second sheet, the third page. Okay, so we are going to be putting it in facing this way. So the 4 screws face to the right hand side. Let's see if there's anything else in here we need to know about. Okay, I think we're good there. Okay, so shaft needs 1, 2. Okay, these 2 big ones are probably for our inner hubs. Let's see, we need 1, 2, 3. Okay, I doubt those are going to be in the transmission anywhere. So And these are probably for the wheels also. Wait a minute. Yep, those must be for the wheels. Okay, so let's press one of these into either side of our idler gear. And again, I'm doing the rubber seals facing outward. Now, this seal is going to face, well, no, I'm going to put it facing this way because it's going to be right here, and we want that rubber seal to be blocking dirt and grime for us instead of the metal one. The metal one is more easily penetrated. Same thing over here. And again, I'm going to use the shaft to help place it or seat it, if you wish. There we go. Also, I want to trim that flashing there. It's a little rough. Okay. So, lay shaft. Idler gear. Now you're saying, wait a minute, you got to put grease on that. I will. I'll be putting it on here, and it'll work its way right through to all of them. It just takes a teeny bit. So we want 2 3x16s. Time to get back into the titanium hardware. Two 3x16s. Now, when you're doing transmissions, be very careful about tightening them. They can collapse. You can actually collapse the case and create binding. So just get it snug. You can always come back and tighten it again later, but you want to make sure that you're not binding up your transmission. So that's that. Now we need to do our ball studs. Tell you what I'm gonna do. I am going to get out my case. Start putting stuff away. I want to leave that there because I want to make sure those stay clean. And I'm going to use this tray after I wipe it out for all these pieces of hardware here. And here is our 2 ball studs. 6 millimeters. It looked big. It's like, those look like really large pieces. And sure enough, they are heavy duty. Okay, so we need, let me check the build sheet for the height on that. Yep, number 2 and 2 millimeters each. So 1 and 2. It's amazing how many settings, even on pro build sheets, are right off the stock build. need a 2.5 by 8 flat. And that's it right there. There we go. Okay. And now we need two M312s and two M316s. And the M312s go in the front 2 holes, and the 16s go to the rear. Okay. Now, this is also where we need to put in our sway bar, and I don't really have any setup info for that because no one is running. This 6.2 is such a new truck. There aren't really any build sheets out there. So I am going to go with the thinnest rear sway bar. And it would be nice if they marked these up somehow. Usually there's something like laser etched on them, or we've got a color code. I guess I'm just going to have to use the good old calipers. Okay, this is our thinnest one right here. Aha, yes. See, this is why putting things in a box like that really helps. I mean, it's like, okay, wait a second, what did I do with all those little parts for the rear sway bar? Oh yeah, there they are. Okay, so I put on the ball ends there while I was while it was paused. So it is now time to put our diff in, and let's make sure we got those in position. Isn't that slick the way this goes together? Just snap that diff right on in. Nope, I'm facing it the wrong way. Up. And after I took the time to check. Bad. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to use some of that nice white grease, the noise reducing premium white grease. Okay, so all it takes is a couple of little blobs. You really don't want to put a lot on because it's going to go all through very quickly, and then if you put too much on, you're just binding up your gearbox. So now watch how it goes to all the teeth with a little bit of rolling. And that is plenty, believe it or not. I know it might look like it's not enough, but it really is. It's very easy to have too much of a good thing. So we need 2 3x12s and 2 3x16s. Now, we have these 2 holes here. These are for grub screws that we are going to use to anchor the sway bar, and not anchor it as in tighten it down, just to keep it from being able to wiggle and wobble like this. So our 16s go in the rear here, and our 12s go in the front. Same thing goes with these screws. Don't over tighten them. So you want to check your transmission as you're tightening stuff down. Make sure it isn't locking up or getting tighter on you, because it will. There we go. Okay, we need a pair of 3x16s. And we need our waterfall. And we need this ball cup here. And wait a second, let's make sure we're doing that from the right side. The correct side. Yep. Such a handy tool. It's the Techno shock tool, and it's about $30, and it is worth every penny of it. I highly recommend getting one. Aside from being really good for your Techno shocks, it is the most comfortable shock shaft pliers on the planet. Now remember, these are part of the transmission, so don't over tighten them again, and check your transmission's motion as you go through this. That's weird. Just dropped right through there. I think I need a longer screw for this particular transmission. They're showing me the laid down, not... Yeah, a 20 for there. And I don't have any in titanium. Let me see if I've got one in stainless. Otherwise, it's going to be good old steel. Wait a minute. 20. Yes. Different head type, but it will do just fine. These are really high quality. And I need the 2.5. I think I used the wrong brace. It's hard to tell because I don't think there's any numbers anywhere. One is longer than the other, and from the drawings, yeah, it looks like it. So I'm gonna swap it. Okay, now is there more than one of these? Because this one has 2 holes. And well, the transmission's got 2 also. Okay, how do they want this? It's got to be like this. And then like that. Okay, so we need 3 M3x10s, flatheads. And I don't have any more flatheads left. Sure. Yep. Now these screws do not compress the transmission anyway, so you don't have to worry. You're not in any danger there. But make sure not to over tighten. You don't want to strip them. Okay. Now it's time for our slipper. So there we go, number 1. And let me check my gearing. Spur gear is 81. Now 86 for mod. Do they only give me 1 spur gear to work with? That would be lame. It would be unfortunate to to only have one spur gear. That may be where I'm at. You need to make sure that your pads are fitting into the little cuts on the spur gear here. If they come out, you're gonna wreck your pads. And again, just touch them by the edge, even if your hands are clean. Okay, now we have a pin that goes through the top of our shaft here. Okay, that sounds raunchy. That really doesn't want to go in. Well, just the one pin. Okay, let's try. Okay. Inspect the pads. Okay, so now we need one of these bearings has two chamfered edges. Okay, this one right here that has like a barrel sticking through on both sides, that's the one that we want first. Then we want the one that only has it on one side, and we want to put our spring in, followed by the one that only has the barrel on one side. Those two little barrels keep the pin aligned. And then we need our nice big M3 lock nut with the flange. Now, set nut flush with top shaft screw. In other words, this needs to be tightened down until the screw comes to the top of this, not protruding through. Now we're going to need to adjust that at points, but that's our base setting. See page 22 for gear, mesh, and slipper clutch setting instructions. Also, they didn't have us exercise the spring. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as is since they didn't specify. So, flush. Okay, now before I move on, I'm gonna adjust my my grub screws here. Now, do they use screws or grub screws? I just want to confirm that. And they're not going to tell me because they don't use them on this car. They don't use a rear sway bar. And 3x3mm set screws, or grub screws as we call them. So, this is where we adjust the sway bar to keep it from moving around unnecessarily. Basically, you want to tighten it until it starts impeding on the sway bar's movement. Let's get the other one started also. See, they move smoothly. I'm going to loosen it like a teeny bit each. Okay, so we got good movement, but we're not, that one jiggles a teeny bit. I mean, it's just a little bit, but you learn to feel for that. Cool. See, I don't mind it having a little bit of, it's not stiff. We'll back that up a little bit. Really want it free moving, just to be sure. Yeah. That's fine with me.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel.